Hi everybody, I'm Zilla Blitz and welcome to the April monthly update for our YouTube channel. This is an episode where I talk about ongoing things that happen at the channel. We have a number of topics to cover in this month's episode. First up, we'll be doing a Shelf of Shame challenge update. Some pretty good news there. Then the two new features in last month's monthly update, the things I played in the previous month, that was really very well received, so we're going to keep that. So we're going to talk about that this month, looking at the games that I played in the month of March. And then as well, people seem to like the what's new and in the house. So we'll take a look at what's new and in the house. A bunch of things came in March here, so there's quite a few things to look at in that regard. I do want to spend a few minutes talking about the Patreon and some changes to the Patreon coming up, and then also what's coming up in the upcoming month we'll talk about. Next feature too, I want to talk about a special topic, which is playing more games. I've been thinking about this quite a bit over the course of the past month. I'd like to get your input on that, so I've got questions and thoughts and reflections about that for a special topic for this month's video. And lastly, the very end of the video, as always, we're going to be giving away our $50 store credit to Noble Knight Games. This is based on the hidden puzzle that was in the video in the upcoming Wargames episode in March. So if you're not familiar with this, every upcoming Wargames episode in the month, which will come out in about a week or so, I put in some kind of a giveaway to Noble Knight Games, which is one of our channel sponsors. And they also sponsored this video where we give away that $50 to the number of people that either qualified for the entry and stuff. And if you recall, the upcoming Wargames episode in March had a particularly devious puzzle in it. It was hidden in the upcoming Wargames episode. Hats off to everybody who got it correct. A lot of wrong answers, though, although a fairly high number of you were crafty and smart enough to figure it out. Congratulations. We'll give away what the answer to the puzzle was, and then we'll give away the $50 store credit to Noble Knight Games at the end of this video. And yes, Noble Knight Games, if you're not familiar with them, is an awesome game retailer, board game retailer in Wisconsin, but they ship internationally. Fantastic service. I've had nothing but good results with them, and there is links down below to their channel. So if you're looking for anything wargame relating, board game relating, or gaming supply related, miniatures as well, they're a fantastic resource. And if you do purchase something through the links below, that does help the channel. So thank you for your patronage as always through that. And with that being said, let's get started with our first topic. Now, normally I do a channel update. However, I'm going to make the channel updates shorter going forward. March was a good month for the channel. 11 videos produced despite a really busy stretch of work in the middle. Numbers are up by about 10%, and the channel keeps growing considerably. Nothing big in terms of landmarks and hallmarks and big numbers and things like that, although there is one coming up that we'll talk about in the next month's episode. So yeah, steady as she goes in terms of numbers behind the channel. Let's shift now to our Shelf of Shame challenge update with some good news. So we're jumping into our super geeky Shelf of Shame challenge update. If you recall, earlier in the year, in the beginning of February, I set aside 10 games that I wanted to play in the course of 2024 that had been on my Shelf of Shame or my Shelf of Opportunity for quite a while. Now, a number of you as viewers I know have jumped in and created your own Shelf of Shame challenges, and I'm seeing posts in the comments for people that are making progress with theirs. Our last month, a month ago, I had not completed any one. So in the first month, I had 0 of the 10 games completed. However, March was a good month. 2 games checked off in the Shelf of Shame challenge update. Game number 1 at the top was A Most Fearful Sacrifice. I'll talk about this more in what I played in the month of March, but the goal was to be fluent at the rules, play 2 real scenarios, and then record and post a series of playthrough videos. I just got that done over the weekend. So A Most Fearful Sacrifice, as we can see here, completed. Yes. It is done. I had a marvelous time playing that. I'll talk about it more in what I played in March. So check that one off. Second game in there was Pax Pamir. The criteria was be fluent at the rules and competent at the game. Play at least 5 times on Rally the Troops, and play at least once solo. Did all of those things. I did even more. I'll talk about this game more in what I played in March, but that fulfilled all the criteria 100%. Checked it off. So 2 months in, 2 games done. The Shelf of Shame challenge right now is on target for being successfully completed. The question I know you're all asking, though, is what's next? Now, we have a lot of candidates here. Fire in the Lake, Enemy Action Ardennes, Undaunted Normandy, Empire of the Sun, RAF Battle of Britain, D-Day at Omaha Beach, which already started quite a while ago, Paths of Glory, Holland 44, and then the optional game, Panzer North Africa. After much deliberation, I was going to go with Holland 44, Changed my mind, however, and I'll tell you why. I'm going to go with Enemy Action Ardennes. This is going to be the April game. So if you want to jump in and play this one with me and kind of compare notes and things like that, I'd love to have more company playing it. I'm going to play this one 2-player first to learn the rules a little bit better, and then try to play, I think the criteria will be once playing solitaire as the Allies and once playing solitaire as the Germans. So try to get in 3 games that way, perhaps a 2-player and then 1 each way, and get competent at the rules and things like that too. So probably a learning game or 2. But that will be the game for April. I have yet to start it because I just finished A Most Fearful Sacrifice, but I'm looking forward to that one. And why Enemy Action Ardennes, you might ask? Well, it was about a year and a half ago that I posted a video that was top solitaire wargames, and I talked about in that video to doing rather kind of yearly updates. And I haven't done that yet. It's over a year and a half ago. So I want to do that. And there's 2 games in particular that I really want to play before I update that video. One is Enemy Action Ardennes, and the other is RAF Battle of Britain. So I'm thinking I'll play this in April, play RAF Battle of Britain in May, and then I can update that video in kind of late May, early June kind of thing. So that's the plan. Enemy Action Ardennes in the next Shelf of Shame Challenge Shelf of Shame Challenge game. And now let's talk about what I played in the month of March. So one of the goals, as I was thinking about this too, is that I want to play more games, and this can be a special topic later on as well. But March was a pretty good month in terms of games played. First up, to go back and reference the Shelf of Shame Challenge, played a lot of Pax Pamir. I think 9 multiplayer games of Pax Pamir, almost all of them, actually all of them, I think, in the month of March on Rally the Troops. And I really like this game. I especially like it as a multiplayer game. I think I was talking to Boom Pub Battles, who have been playing a lot of 2-player games with him. I think we probably played 4 or 5 2-player games in the course of March. And I think we're both landing on the conclusion that as a 3-player game, that seems to really be the sweet spot, perhaps, for Pax Pamir. As a 4-player game, I feel like sometimes you come back and it looks like a completely different game. Like so much has gone on between your turns. And I think there's a caveat here, right? There's, especially as you're playing on Rally the Troops asynchronously, right? So you make a move and then you come back like, later that day, 8 hours later, and you look at the game, you're like, wait, what was going on? So I think it'd be a lot different playing live at a table where you're interacting and you can make more deals and bargains with people. I think that will probably change the game as well. But at least playing asynchronously on Pax Pamir, when you come back after a 4-player game, you kind of look at the board and you're like, wait, what was this the same game? And you lose some agency there because so much can happen in between the time you play and everybody else goes. 2-player is really good. I really like 2-player, but I feel like this 3-player, it creates a little bit more chances for people to pair up and team up, or for 3 people to go different directions, a little bit more tension and kind of stress in the game engine and playing in a good way. So I feel like 3-player feels like it might be the absolute sweet spot for Pax Pamir, at least playing asynchronously. I'm curious to see how much it plays live and things like that. But yeah, I can't recommend this game more. It's really, really fun. Just a beautiful game, and really have enjoyed my time with Pax Pamir. I think it's going to kind of stay in my game playing repertoire, and still got games going on now too as we're doing that. The other game, kind of referencing the Shelf of Shame Challenge update, A Most Fearful Sacrifice. Now, I had started playing this one in February. I played a lot more in March, another solitaire scenario, and then I created a series on the channel that's up now, which is a 3-video playthrough of the very first learning scenario so that we could go into a lot of depth. This is a contender on my list for War Game of the Year. And if you recall, I go through, didn't do one last year. I should actually go back and do that. But when I want to rank my games played, not in terms of what year they come out, but in terms of when I experienced them. This one could be one of my top War games for this year. It's that good. Now, Pax Pamir is really good too. I really like Pax Pamir. A Most Fearful Sacrifice, though, for Hex Encounters Wargaming, this is just spectacular. Now, I haven't played much Civil War Wargaming, but this game, it's just sucks you right in. One of the things that I love about it is how it orchestrates and manages chaos, and it throws chaos and confusion and delay on a player and forces you to deal with it, which just seems so fitting for the Civil War era. And for someone, again, who hasn't played a lot of Civil War wargaming, I thought it was going to be, one, hard for me to learn. I thought, two, it would take for me a while to kind of grok what was going on. But it's not as hard as it looked. I thought it was going to take me a while to learn it. The core rules are actually, I think, very straightforward and easy. The game does get a little bit challenging sometimes because there's cards, and when cards overlap or interact with each other, and then the rules, I felt like there were some edge cases where it kind of was leading me to Board Game Geek to try to kind of decipher those quite a bit. But there's a kind of more exceptions than they are the core game. And once you get those down, everything really starts to flow and stuff like that. But it's just such a marvelous game. I've just really, really enjoyed my time with it. I can't recommend it more highly. It is definitely a contender in my list for best war games that I've played in 2024, even though we're only 1/3 of the way through the year. So yeah, Most Fearful Sacrifice. What else? I always seem to play at least one game of The Shores of Tripoli. I just really like that game on the Rally the Troops. It plays fast, 2-player game. So many different variations and strategies and stuff like that. There's these core pathways, but then how they all match up, I just find it still a fascinating game. So I played one game there. Also, thanks to Liz over at Beyond Solitaire, she introduced me to the game Obsession. It's not a war game. It's more it's totally a Euro game where you kind of manage these English families and trying to build up your estate and your reputation and things like that. It's a really fun game, which brings me to where I spent a bit of my time and spending more now is on Board Game Arena. So she introduced me to that, and now I'm playing there. So I think I've got 2 or 3 games of Obsession going now over there. Not obsessed at all. But speaking of obsessed, Liz at Beyond Solitaire has played over 100 games of Obsession on Board Game Arena. So I'm not nearly as obsessed as she is. But I really enjoyed that game. I'm just kind of still learning how to play. I've only played 2 games now, so I'm still kind of figuring my way around it, but it's a really fun game. And speaking of other Euro games and non-war games, Wingspan. I think I played 2 games of Wingspan, playing it on Steam asynchronously again. It's really good for my mental health. You just play with birds and make these really cool habitats. So I really like that game. A new game that's introduced playing a 3-player game right now is Dune Imperium. Also playing that on Steam. I don't really know what I'm doing yet. It looks fun. I've read the first 3 books in the Dune series, so I'm somewhat familiar with the Dune lore. I just haven't quite figured out the game yet. So this is the first game. It's kind of what I call a learning game. I'm losing, I think. I don't quite know. That's how little I know about the game. I don't really know if I'm winning or losing. But it is kind of fun. I'm starting to figure things out. So it's been kind of a slow-paced game with that going on. And then lastly, I have started, second to lastly, started We Are Coming Nineveh, which will be a game that I hope to feature in gameplay on the channel in the month of April as well. On the PC side, I've been playing some Battles of North Africa in Panzer Battle series from Wargame Design Studio. Really enjoying this one. I made a kind of a first look video at this on the channel in the course of the month. Looking forward to playing some more scenarios, and I hope to bring a playthrough to the channel for this as well in terms of digital Hex Encounters wargame. If you like Hex Encounters wargames, and you're amenable to playing in a digital format, I think you really want to check out Wargame Design Studio. It's a little bit old school, but in terms of like the depth of play, you're going to be right at home. And it's really nice to be able to play against the AI and stuff like that. And they are just loaded with scenarios. So really enjoying my time with Battles of North Africa 1941 from Wargame Design Studio. And I hope to have more of that coming up in April too. And I think that's everything. So pretty happy with how many games and different stuff that were played in the month of March. Before we jump in and take a look at what new games arrived in the month of March, I want to take a moment to talk a little bit about the Patreon channel. Always in these monthly updates, I like to express my gratitude for the Patreon members. Many of you have been backers of the channel for a long time now. I'm eternally grateful for all your support, for the things that you enable with the channel and things like that. So thank you as always. I'm going to talk more about that too, I think, in terms of future plans in the next monthly update. I've been thinking about some kind of life things and things like that. But thank you as always for the Patreon support. And with that, I also want to mention, we have 2 new members too, Justin and a guy named Paul. Thank you for your Patreon, joining Patreon in the month of March. And with that too, I want to talk about a couple of things of adding to the Patreon membership. First up is organizing kind of asynchronous, and I'd like to organize some live gaming events that involve the Patreon membership, because again, these are people that have been, that are supporters of the channel and I think know me and the channel's history very, very well. So be able to get together more as a community around games. So I want to do that with the Patreon. And in trying to do that, one of the things that I've realized, is that Patreon in and of itself isn't the greatest place to have conversations. It's just people don't check it very often. So messages tend to kind of sit there for a while and then there's a flurry, but it's hard. I don't think the notifications work all that well. So sometimes you'll ask a question, get a response, but someone will respond and I don't see their response. And so it just feels kind of clunky place to have communication. So I want to start up a Patreon Discord, a paid Patreon member Discord server. So I'm going to start that up, I think sometime in the month of April on kind of a pilot basis and try it for a month and see if it helps organize both kind of getting input and ideas and feedback into upcoming events for the channel, upcoming video series and things like that from the paid Patreon membership. So and then organizing more community gaming events in there. See if that works a little bit better. So those are the two things I think I'm trying for kind of adding to the Patreon, and kind of just wanted to mention those here. And again, as always, thank you to the new supporters and the long-term supporters and continued supporters on the Patreon. It's greatly appreciated. Next up is what's new and in the house in the month of March. And I've got kind of a small pile of games. Sometimes it just happens, right? Like with pre-ordering, like GMT P500, you order something in like September of 2021, and then 2.5 years later, this game shows up in your doorstep and that's right, I forgot I ordered that thing. And so they show up like that. And sometimes you order two and then two of them show up. That only happened to me once so far. But I want to kind of walk through a bunch of stuff where all the pre-orders kind of seem to kind of congeal around the month of March here. First up, let's take these are stuff that I ordered here. First one, Rebel Fury from GMT Games, designed by Mark Herman. Accessible series of, there's a number of games there, volume 1 in the series. And I know he's got plans for many more games in the series as well. Very accessible, easy to table, fast playing. Looks like it could be a really good series too for introducing people to Hex Encounters war games. I mean, Mark Herman, fantastic designer. So I'm really looking forward to playing this one. I'm seeing a lot of really good things on social media about the game as well. Just having brought A Most Fearful Sacrifice off the table and having had so much fun with an American Civil War game, I'm really looking forward to exploring the topic of American Civil War games more. So I'm looking forward to getting this one to the table. It is in somewhat of a line right now too, because I want to explore the blind sword system too from Revolution Games. So I'm not quite sure which ones I'm going to play next, but that one's in the house. Then we're going to go to Compass Games in the final. Well, not really the final. I guess this would be the second game in the Stuka series, right? Where 3 different companies in the course of a year are producing games that involve solitaire games that involve Stuka. We have Stuka Leader from DVG Games, Storm of Steel, what I've got in my hands here now from Compass Games, and then JU87 Stuka Leader, Stuka Ace from Lock and Load Publishing, which is looking like it's come. I think it's looking like it's a few months away. So I think we've got some positive news after kind of a delay there for a while. So I'm excited about that one too. But this is the second one in that kind of 3 brothers of games, if you would. Storm of Steel from Compass Games. This one just arrived a while ago. I haven't had a chance to take it out. Generally, by the way, I have kind of a house rule. That's why it's in shrink wrap. Until I do like the first look video, I don't allow myself the joy of opening up the game. So when I'm doing the first look video, starting on it, that's when I allow myself to open up the game. So until that, it's got the nice shiny shrink wrap on it, which is my motivation to get going on those videos. Really excited about this one. I'm seeing a few people start to play it on social media right now. I am a sucker for these kind of the solitaire games that involve ships and planes and submarines, where you control like a small group of aircraft and you have like their whole stories and histories and pilots and things like that. I think it's one of my favorite subgenres of war games. So I'm really looking forward to this one. I kind of was thinking I was going to hold off on it, but then I finally ordered it on a whim a couple months ago and it just showed up in the month of March. Going back to GMT Games, France 40 from GMT Games. This is the Mark Simonich's apostrophe XX series. I want to get all of these because I really like the series and want to dig into them more as they go forward. Holland 44 is the game on the Shelf of Shame Challenge update, which is the first game that I'm going to look at this year involving this series. So really looking forward to these. I've read through the rules and did a first look video up. It's on the channel, up on the channel for this one here. But I think, again, the way I talk about it is it's like meat and potatoes, Hex Encounters, war games, except upgraded for the 21st century, right? It's just got a bunch of rules that make the combat and the game and the mechanics just more intricate, more interesting, make the decisions more interesting. So I'm really looking forward to kind of exploring this series more in 2024. So France 1940, it comes with a mounted map too as an extra add-on, and I did get that as well. So I'm really happy to kind of take a look at that one. And I think the only one I don't have now is Ukraine 43, which is out of print and super hard to get. So, what are you going to do? You can't get them all sometimes. Last up, in terms of things I ordered, this was total FOMO, fear of missing out, right? Do you buy games like that too, where it's like you don't think you're really going to have time to play it right away, but you're worried that if you don't get it, it's going to go out of print and it's going to go up to like 4 times in the price. And it's a good game, and so you're like, oh, I don't really shouldn't, and then you do. And that's what this one was. Armageddon War by Flying Pig Games. I've heard, again, just arrived, so it's in the shrink wrap here. I've heard so many really good things about this game, and it went out of print for the longest time. And now it's finally back in a limited print run. You can see, I think, reprint up here in the top corner and stuff like that. I've heard so many good things about this one. Modern warfare is kind of like, it's another area I haven't explored to as great a degree as I've explored like World War II combat. But as I've started to dig into it with like Lock and Load's World at War series and stuff like that, I'm starting to find it really interesting. I mean, it's a more complex level of wargaming. And then Red Strike by VUCA Sims and things. So just kind of Black Horse by Tiny Battle Publishing, a number of games coming out about this kind of 1980s and beyond kind of warfare. So post World War II might be the way to put it, perhaps better yet. Cold War. I mean, the whole argument is what's modern war and stuff like that. That's a thing I'm not going to get into. Not going to talk about that. But anyway, you get a post-World War II combat. Tends to be more complex, of course, than World War II combat. But Armageddon War looks really, really cool. And I was total fear of missing out. I have a feeling it's going to get to the table sooner than later, but that one's in the house as well. Not done yet. Hang on. There are a number of review copies that came in the month of March. So we'll take a look at those. And you'll see most of these coming up on the channel sooner rather than later. But let's walk through them in order here. This one will be sooner rather than later. Keep 'em Rolling, Race to the Rhine from Phalanx Games. This will be a sponsored playthrough. And so with sponsored playthroughs, I have a second copy of this one. This actually is the second copy. It's still in shrink wrap. I've started working on the first look video for the game here too. This is an updated, upgraded, improved version of the original Race to the Rhine game that was published a number of years ago. Keep 'em Rolling adds like a whole different separate solitaire mode, adds an extra player, and it refines some of the gameplay. I'm really looking forward to bringing this one to the channel because one of the reasons I wanted to do this one too is that it involves logistics, and I really like games. I'm finding that more and more, I'm liking games like the Levian Campaign series, like Hill of Doves was another game that did that involves logistics and makes it fun. And so this really is a game where you're trying to keep you're trying to win combat, but you're also trying to keep your armies in supply and keep them fueled and push forward as fast as you can and trying to strike that right balance between advancing beyond your supply capacity, which is going to get you in trouble, but not advancing fast enough so that your allied compatriots will push forward and actually get to the Rhine River before you do. So it sounds like a really fascinating concept. It's kind of a war game, Euro game combination. So we'll be looking at that one. That will be a sponsored video series. So 3 videos coming up in that one in the month of April coming up here. Next up, new and in the house. This one I've already had on the channel quite a while ago, but it's Save South Vietnam. And you might be saying, okay, why would you get a review copy of this one? It's their new boxed version of the game. They used to have all their games would be in big plastic envelopes and the counters were all loose and stuff like that. And now they got counter sheets, boxed versions of the games with a number of updates. And I think some scenarios are added to this one over the original version as well. So just kind of an all-around upgraded version and components and stuff like that of the original plastic bag version. If you haven't had a chance yet to check out Fortress Games, and in particular Save South Vietnam, this was my top war game of 2022. Completely blew me away. Solitaire war game where you play the US forces in the Vietnam War. Such a fun, challenging game. If you haven't played it yet and you like solitaire games, you owe it to yourself to play. There's a whole series of a playthrough on the channel. I'll put links down below and things like that. But fantastic game and now upgraded. This is newly coming out. I think if it hasn't been announced, it's going to be announced soon. So you should be able to get the box versions of this one coming very, very soon. So thanks to Fortress Games for sending that along. Dos más juegos. Yes, I'm taking Spanish on Duolingo. And we have Orange Shall Overcome. This was a Zenobia Award finalist. I've talked about it on upcoming war games a couple of times. This one came in just at the middle of March or so. And I'm going to be showing this one on the channel in the month of April-ish. So I'm going to do a first look video and then kind of a review of the game and show some gameplay and things like that. This one looks so cool. I've opened it up. I've started doing the first look video. Components are absolutely awesome. So many different ways to play. It's a cooperative kind of solo game where you play the Dutch resistance in non-violent resistance against the occupying German forces in the Netherlands in World War II. It was a Zenobia Award finalist. It features actually kind of the real lives of people that actually did these things in World War II. So it is just such a coolly conceived and executed game. And I haven't played it yet, so I don't know how the game plays in and of itself, but just pouring through the components, there's so much stuff in here, so many different ways to play and scenarios and difficulty levels and ways to modify it and stuff like that. It looks like it's definitely a labor of love. I'm really looking forward to showing you more about this one, Orange Shall Overcome. Let's talk now about the last review copy coming in. This is, I mentioned this one, upcoming Wargames, Onus Trianus. We're going to be showing some gameplay of this one, and we'll also be giving away a copy of this one, as well as giving a copy away of Keep 'em Rolling, Race to the Rhine. So those two will be two giveaways coming up in the next couple of months. This is that card-based game where it's like a miniatures game. There's no map per se. You play on a tabletop, and you have kind of miniatures rules, but instead of miniatures, you're using cards. Looks like a fascinating melee combat series set in the Roman era. I'm really looking forward to bringing some gameplay. This will be coming at the end of April, very early part of May. We're going to do a sponsored 3-part series on this one. First look, gameplay overview, and then kind of an after action report for this one, and giving away a copy of the game as well. So yeah, it was a big March, a lot of stuff in, which is going to bring me to the next topic. The small family of games that came in over the course of the month kind of got me reflecting a little bit too, in terms of the trajectory of my wargaming experience and wargaming kind of story over the course of the almost 3 years now that I've been back to tabletop wargaming. So, well, I've been playing for about 3 years, but the first tabletop wargaming video went up 2 years and 10 months ago. So it's almost the 3-year anniversary since I kind of added tabletop wargaming to the channel. And with that in mind, been thinking a little bit about how I tend to get more games than I can play, and I want to play more games. And so that's really kind of the topic for this, is how do we find time and how do we create space to play more games in our lives? I really enjoy the playing of the games. That's kind of tied in and connected to one of the observations I've had on the channel over the course of the past few months, is that my playthrough videos have gone down in terms of a ratio of the video content on the channel. And I just finished The Most Fearful Sacrifice, finished that series. It's like, oh my God, this is the most fun I have making videos are the playthrough videos. You know, I like making the first look videos. I like doing these, but the playthrough videos and telling the story of a game, to me, is kind of the heart really of why I wanted to create the YouTube channel, and it's the most fun I have. But as I look back over the course of the last 3 months, I've done like one playthrough series a month. So I want to do more playthrough series. I want to get more games to the table, and I want to be able to accelerate that pace, because that's the part of it I think that really brings me the most joy. And so the question is, how do we do that? Now, I know one thing that I've stumbled onto in the month of March, and then a little bit in February, is kind of asynchronous gaming on digital platforms. So like Rally the Troops, and now Board Game Arena, even Steam has a number of games that work that way. Playing that way, where you're playing asynchronously and can kind of make like 1, 2, or 3 turns in a day, has been really, really fun. And it's really ramping up the number of games that I've been able to play, because they fit really nicely into like 10 minutes at the end of lunch break, or kind of like an afternoon 5-minute, 10-minute break from work, where you can go quick and make 2, 3 moves and then leave the game and check it later that night and stuff like that. So that is working really, really well. The other thing that's working for me really well now too is a 2-table setup. So I've got one table now where the studio is, where I'm filming the games that I'm playing and stuff like that. And then I have a learning table that's where I've got We Are Coming Nineveh that's set up right now, where I'm kind of playing a learning game. Because what was happening before was I would move the video game, the game that I was making video of, off the table, then have to learn the next game. And that creates like a 2-week delay as I'm kind of learning the rules and getting up to speed on that game. But by having 2 tables right now, I can kind of learn one game while I'm videotaping the other, bring the second game on, and then start videotaping it right away. That's at least the plan there as well. So those 2 things have worked really, really well. But I'm curious for everybody out there, like, how do you create time to play games in your busy days? I mean, we've got work, family, all kinds of things. I like to exercise every day too, and that takes up time, and then cooking and things like that, fixing things around the house and all that kind of stuff. We have busy lives, right? So how do we find time to build that in? And so I'm looking for creative ways to do that. One of the things I'm thinking about is kind of early starts. So maybe get up a half an hour earlier and start the day with like 30 minutes of gaming, or tabletop gaming, playing on a tabletop, learning some of the games that I'm shooting videos for, thinking that might allow me to get more video playthrough games too. But I'd be curious to hear how you do it. If you've got any tips or advice or thoughts on how you get your games to your table more, I would love to hear them. Because I feel like it's an area I can do more and I want to do more in, because again, the playthrough videos are the things that I really like to do the most. I'd like to do more of them, and I'd like to find time and build time into the schedule to be able to do more of those videos too. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts. That's kind of my meandering thought for the course of this month. And I look forward to reading your comments down below and your ideas on that. And our last segment before we do our giveaway is kind of what's coming up in the month of April, what to look forward to on the channel in the month of April, and things I'm excited about doing. First up, leaving tomorrow for my third Wargaming conference, my live in-person Wargaming conference ever in my life, going to Circle DC in Washington, DC. It's put on by Fort Circle Games. I'm really excited about this. We have snow outside here in Minnesota, and also on Thursday, I'll be going to one of the things that Kevin Bertram, the owner of Fort Circle Games, organized is a trip to Washington Nationals baseball game. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday should be talking to designers, exploring prototypes, playing games and things like that. So I'm really looking forward to that. That will mean there won't be very many videos on the channel on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Probably next video will be on Tuesday or so. So it'll be kind of a 4 or 5 day gap. But I am hoping to do some designer interviews while I'm at the conference. So look forward to some designer interviews from that coming up in the month of April, as well as kind of some reports on Circle DC and the fun things that went on there. So it looks like it's going to be a fantastic conference. I'm really looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing friends and making new friends as well. In terms of games that will show up on the channel in the month of April, in terms of video format, Keep 'em Rolling, Race to the Rhyme will be coming in this month. Towards the end of the month, Onus Trianus will be coming. The series will start on that one. Orange Shall Overcome. Going to get these kind of review copies that I kind of showed that came in now too. 8th Air Force is another one that's scheduled, and I'm hopeful to get that one in the month, get it started in the month of April here. And then we are coming Nineveh from Nuts Publishing, which is a game I've had for quite a while that I finally want to get forward and bring to the table there too. Kind of working on still learning that one at the moment. So those are kind of some collection and some order of those games should be the gameplay ones, in addition to upcoming war games and some unboxings and things like that and random videos. Oh yes, on the PC digital side too, I hope to start a series for Battles of North Africa from Wargame Design Studio and their Panzer Battles series. So that one should be coming up in some format as well. So big month, which gets back to that whole idea of playing more games and creating more playthrough videos. So your help and your thoughts and advice and tips on that would be greatly appreciated. And now the moment you've been waiting for. Let's give away our $50 store gift certificate to this month's winner of our contest. This one again was a puzzle contest. Now this was the hardest thing we've done so far for the giveaway. Normally we've had well over 100, sometimes close to 200 entries for these giveaways. This month had 60. So a very fair number of you were stumped by this one. Of the 60 people that managed to get close enough to offering an answer on the puzzle, 23 people got it right. This was not easy, but congratulations to all 20 of you who were able to solve the puzzle. Now, what was the puzzle, you might ask? Well, if you watch the video, you'll notice that scattered in the video, there was 3 hints. The first hint, I think, was something like, the answer is this is a very general question, which was a wordplay thing I'll mention in a moment. The second was you have to be like a good sport or something like that to get this one right. So sport was kind of a tip in that one, right? And then the third one, I think, was like, I'll tip my cap to to the people who get this right or something like that. So we have general question, be a good sport, tip the cap kind of thing like that. 2 of those clues, right, are leading you towards what I was wearing on my head. And if you watch the video, you'll notice that I wore 6 different hats over the course of the video in order. Now, some people put in things like baseball, right, which is a pretty good guess, except 2 of the 6 hats were football teams. So they all weren't baseball teams. The puzzle was much more subtle than that. And this will give you an idea. I have an idea for another one that I'm going to do in the future. They all won't be like this, but I've got an idea. So you will know on these puzzles when you have the right answer. It's not going to be like, well, maybe it's this. When you get it, you're going to know. So what it was each one of the hats represented 6 different teams. Now, the first hat was like the Carolina Panthers. So you could think a C or a P, right? The first letter that it starts with. Panthers starts with a P. The second one was the Oakland Athletics. Athletics starts with an A. Third one was the Detroit Tigers, which is a T. Fourth one was the Houston Texans, also a T. So we got P-A-T-T. Baltimore Orioles starts with an O, and then Washington Nationals starts with an N, P-A-T-T-O-N, a very fitting puzzle for a Wargaming episode, right? A Wargaming channel update. We get Patton, which ties you back to your first hint that said this is a very general question. Get it? General Patton. Congratulations to the 23 of you that got it right. Now, I have an idea for a puzzle like this coming. I have a couple ideas for puzzles like this coming up in the future. I promise you, for all of you that look at that and say, oh my God, that's so annoying. I never would have gotten that. Next month's giveaway in a few days will be much, much easier. It's just going to be like post a comment in the video down below. So it'll be super easy and everyone will be able to enter it into it. But sometime in the future, I'll recycle back to a puzzle like this one. Congratulations to our 23 people who got it right. Let's give away money. So we are on random name picker here, and I've got our 23 entrants in for all the people that correctly guessed Patton. Now I'm going to come down here to the bottom, and it's going to randomly pick a winner for us. Good luck to all our entrants. Our final winner is Michael Griffiths. Congratulations. You are this month's winner to our $50 store credit giveaway to Noble Knight Games. I'll be reaching out to the email address you put and your entry to this puzzle to connect so that we can get you the $50 store credit giveaway. Look for another giveaway to Noble Knight Games coming up in April when we do our upcoming Wargamings episode. So be sure to check for that one coming up on the channel. It should be about 10 days or so. And thanks again for everybody who played, and congratulations for the 23 people who got the answer right to that one. And with that, we come to the end of our channel update. I'd love to hear, too, your ideas on how do you play more games and how you fit gaming into your lifestyle. And also, if you're looking for something else to watch, I'll point you to our newly published A Most Fearful Sacrifice playthrough, episode 1. We play through the whole slaughter pen scenario. It was super fun to play, and I think you might enjoy watching that one. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you on another video soon.